Hello, friends, and welcome back to Stories About Entitled People. The lawsuit thing always gets me. The fact that if you have someone come onto your property uninvited, they do something stupid and hurt themselves, you might be sued because they broke the law and were trespassing. But before we begin, best way to support our channel is to leave comments, like, and subscribe with the turned-on bell so you don't miss the new video every single day. Here we go. Why don't I put up a fence if I don't want your kid climbing in my trees? Done. Not myself, but my aunt has some new neighbors renting the house next to her, owned property. These guys have a toddler and a slightly older child and dog that they love to leave outside unattended. Absolutely priceless when child services showed up and the 2-year-old was alone in the front yard. The bigger kid had started coming into her yard and climbing one of her trees, and she asked them to keep their kid out of her yard and trees kindly, as she doesn't want a lawsuit if the kid falls and breaks a leg on her property. Guy says if it's such a big deal, why don't you just put up a fence? She cut down the tree the kid was climbing and a few others and stacked all the limbs into a 6-foot wall of natural fence. Guy was pissed. Asked her why she had to be such a bee about it. Sorry, thought we were taking your advice, LMAO. Edit. My aunt was already planning to get rid of the trees due to rot and proximity to the house. The fence idea just came up after this guy decided to be a jerk about keeping his kids out of her yard. She was just going to have the wood hauled off until that conversation struck the fence idea. And our second story. That's a horrible way to treat your customers. You should be ashamed of yourself. I used to manage a marina in Michigan. The boating and mechanical areas were separate from my shop. I oversaw a very large shopping floor that sold swimwear, sportswear, and assorted water toys like inflatable tubes, rafts, masks, and snorkels, that sort of thing. In essence, my shop sold all the fun stuff. The owner tried to pattern the store off those beachwear places you see in resort areas along the Atlantic coast. It was a privately owned place. I'd known the owner since I was in my early 20s and worked part-time for them in college. Once I was out of school for a myriad of reasons, I ended up going back to the marina to work and ended up managing the place. I knew the owners very well. The lady who started the business grew it from a tiny little specialty shop to the colossus it had become once I started at the management position. They were my surrogate family and treated me like a son. When you walked into the store, you got the impression that this was a part of some big-time chain. It wasn't absolutely huge like a big box store, but it wasn't some dingy little local hole in the wall either. At that point, they had in excess of 15,000 sets of women's swimsuits alone, as well as sportswear and some guys' swimwear and clothing. This ultimately gave some of our customers the impression that they'd be treated the same at my store as they would be in a big box, i.e., complain enough and you'll get whatever you want. Deliciously, this was not the case. Our number one rule was no returns on swimwear, ever. Signs were posted all over the store detailing this primary rule. We had no way to return swimwear to the manufacturer if it came back to us, so it counted as a complete loss. And nobody wants to resell a returned bikini because, ew. It never ceased to amaze me how many women didn't read the signs or just decided the rules didn't apply to them. On average, we'd have 2 to 3 women a week during our peak season from Memorial Day to Labor Day buy a suit, wear it, then try to return it. I got to the point where telling these women they were stuck with their purchases was old hat. I would be smooth, precise, and completely professional in the face of people who were wholly dumbfounded that they were being told no. Also, keep in mind this marina was in a really lucrative resort area in Michigan. These ladies were wealthy and privileged and were used to getting their way at all times. My employees were well trained and everybody knew of our non-return policy regarding swimwear. Seriously, the signage was everywhere. But when a customer would make a stink, they'd always get referred to me when I would tell them in no uncertain terms that they were stuck with their suit. You had the stock, "I spend lots of money here" lines, along with threats of reporting us to the Better Business Bureau and lawsuits and whatnot. None of that worked because, as I said, this was a privately owned place, and the owners fully and completely backed me up when it came to this sort of thing. They were the ones that set the policy, in fact. I was just the enforcer of that policy. So one summer, we decided to have a swimsuit giveaway contest. You'd put your contact information into a fishbowl, and at the end of every month, we'd call a winner and let them know they'd won a swimsuit of their choice. The idea behind this was so we could put together an up-to-date mailing list to send out flyers for upcoming sales and whatnot. Anyway, one of our customers, I'll just call her X, won a suit in July. We called her contact information and ended up leaving her several messages about her suit. Eventually, without any reply, and after Labor Day, we gave up and just decided she'd moved or was no longer interested in a free swimsuit, so we put the whole thing to rest. The next year, round about mid-June, X shows up and demands her swimsuit. The employee taking care of her came to me, and as this wasn't your run-of-the-mill swimsuit denial return situation, I went to the owner to see what she wanted me to do. I was told that this woman had her chance and that we made multiple attempts to contact her. She was out of luck. 20-plus years of retail experience had worn the owner's patience down to a nub, and she was quite blunt about this woman not receiving her suit. One of my jobs there actually was to keep the owner away from the customers. So I went back out and told X she couldn't get her suit, that it was a 2000X contest, and as it was now 2000Y and multiple attempts had been made to contact her, she was out of luck. Of course, this didn't go over well with X. There was much wailing and gnashing of teeth, as well as threats to call the Better Business Bureau and all that standard rigmarole. I was sympathetic, I was polite, and after 15 minutes of explaining the situation to her, I was also done. I told her in no uncertain terms that she was not getting the suit and that I was sorry, but that was the end result of this situation. She stormed out of the store, told me over her shoulder that she'd never shop here again, and I thought that was the end of it. I was incorrect. A couple weeks later, I was in my office doing paperwork when one of my employees came to get me. She needed help with a customer in the dressing room area who was insisting we owed her a free swimsuit that she'd won in a contest. The light bulb above my head went off, and I followed my employee to the back. There was X, once again crowing about how she'd won a swimsuit and that we'd defaulted on our promise to provide one. This was a Saturday, always our busiest day of the week, and she had quite a crowd around her. Most of the women trying on suits didn't really care, but a couple were paying attention and sympathizing. This is how it went down when I got there. Me, can I help you? X, who either doesn't recognize me or is just stubbornly refusing to accept that she's not getting her free suit. I won a contest for a free swimsuit and your employee is telling me that I can't have it. Me, I'm sorry, ma'am, but as I told you the last time you were in here, that contest was held last year. The offer for the free swimsuit is expired. X, well, that's not fair. I won, and now you're refusing to give me my suit. Me, some niceness leaking out of my voice now, we tried to get in touch with you several times and left you messages last year. This is a new year. You're not getting a suit for free. X, that's a horrible way to treat your customers. You should be ashamed of yourself. I'm surprised this place is still in business. Me, I'm sorry, that's the word from the owner. There's nothing more I can do about it. I started to turn and walk away, hoping that X didn't ask to see the owner, because as I said, 25-plus years of retail had worn her down to a raw nerve. She wasn't going to get polite customer service from the owner, is what I'm getting at. And then I stopped. X was saying something I didn't catch in a snotty tone of voice to one of the ladies she was with. I should have just kept on walking. Should have just headed back up to my office to decompress and watch for X to leave through the window before talking to my employee. I didn't. Instead, I turned back to her. Me, by the way, last time I told you that you couldn't have your free suit, you told me you'd never come back to this store. X, taken aback that I'd said something else to her. Well, yes, I said that. Me, and yet here you are. At that point, X opened her mouth, but nothing, thankfully, came out of it. She gathered her things, and she and her friends hustled out of the store. I never saw them again after that, again thankfully, and my employee who witnessed the whole thing managed to stifle her laughter until the ex-customer was well out of hearing. I don't regret my experiences in retail. On the contrary, they've given me an invaluable appreciation for workers nearly everybody else takes for granted. I'll make a point to confront a customer who's getting in a retail employee's face whenever and wherever I shop. I've been there and had to take it, and I'm more than willing to step up if a customer is treating an employee like crap. And our last story. HOA had issue with Dad's semi, but never a single problem with their crap RVs. My dad, when he was alive, was a trucker, and he wasn't some bubba. He never went with loud pipes, gaudy art. If anything, for semis, he went low profile and professional. Also, the semi was brand new and rather quiet. Other thing was, it was parked in our driveway. One day, we got a typical HOA complaint, "Move your semi as it's loud and an eyesore. Sincerely, HOA President, RV owner." To give you an idea, the RV this person owned was a 60-foot bus powered by a gasoline Chevy 350 engine. He bragged about how much power this had. So you hear this dinky little engine going full load trying to push this rust bucket. He never kept it up the hill. It also never had a working generator, as his external one would run all the time. It was like a Briggs & Stratton, and if you've been around those, you know the noise. We wrote them back kindly informing them that my two hard-of-hearing parents, who are considerably disabled via deafness, could very much hear their crap box going all the time. The president, fitting the old man from Washington stereotype, had a crappy aluminum hull boat he had to run all the time that spat blue smoke out and rev. But God forbid we had a semi parked in our own driveway. This isn't the only person either, as several people live on RV pads in my neighborhood, all with the garbage mid-90s ex-rentals running generators all the time. Edit: we have no rules regarding what vehicles we can have on our property in our HOA covenant. There's several commercial vehicles at different houses. Only rule they really had is no farming of animals. We hired a lawyer who sent a certified letter telling them to F off since we didn't violate anything. Also, we got him back later by filing noise complaints. Additionally, my dad only drove it bobtailed, so no trailer on the back, truck was off the entire time, and no, we weren't operating or committing any commercial acts. Our county doesn't forbid you from parking commercially owned vehicles on your property as long as you're not idling them. Hey guys, thank you all for watching the video. I'll see you in the next one.